Welcome to Blue Talks.
Good afternoon, beautiful audience from Oxford University. To be or not to be? No, this is not a talk about Shakespeare. This is a talk about to be visible or not to. And it's interesting because when I was writing actually a book about some of the glimpses of the stories I'm going to share with you today, inspired me so much to go back into my own journey, my own story of invisibility. And I need to go back in time where I was on my mom's womb. And it's interesting because today we had a talk about parenting, and that made me think about my own story and my parents and how, I have been raised with so much love from a family that have adopted me. Because my mom, she have loved me enough to bring me to the world, but she didn't have mental health capacity. She didn't have the financial capacity to actually be able to raise me, and she had so many doubts about how to be a mother. She had many doubts about how to bring children to the world, and especially she didn't have the resources for that. But you know what was interesting? She have chosen someone to be my godmother, and at the age of 6 months of life, my godmother turned to be my mom. Yes, that's such a beautiful story. But then I want to go forward, because when we talk about being invisible, I grew up feeling invisible because I didn't know my own story until I was 21. So you grow up not knowing exactly where do you belong, who you really are. And that causes so much confusion in anyone. Sometimes you don't know even how to show up. And what I found that was the most interesting thing is, as I grew up, I realized that I also was searching for love. And I never actually have fallen in love with anyone until probably when I met my soulmate, my late husband. And I'm already sharing with you this, my late husband, because I just want to prepare you for the story that's going to come. So, trying to figure out who I was and going through all of these law of attraction and personal development and a spiritual journey, you see a lot and you meet a lot of people, let's be honest. And that also can bring lots of confusion, because you start to thinking, okay, what actually is real in all of this? What sort of reality I am creating for myself? Who do I need to believe? Who do I need to follow? And what I have ended up to doing is, as a rebel, not following anyone. I wasn't listening to anyone. I had to learn how to listen to be the therapist that I am today. And that was an amazing lesson for me. But I also teach people to learn how to listen themselves, their intuition, their heart, how to feel those emotions, so they can understand what part of themselves they want to make visible to others, and allow them to feel empowered to choose when they just want to step back and be invisible again. But let's talk about being invisible now. Because why we choose to be invisible? Of course, we may want to make our life private, and there is nothing wrong with that. We may feel the fear of rejection, the fear sometimes of even abandonment. The fear of being compared to others, of not feeling good enough, of being laughed off, ridiculized, to be even putting yourself in a position that every single day all you do is auto-sabotaging yourself. Because there's always someone that's going to be better than you. And I know that's not true, but I'm just helping you to understand where you also may be coming from. And the most empowering thing is actually remember that within this world of visibility and the huge exposure that we get from the media, you always will have the choice. I have chosen to hide. I have chosen to be invisible for many years of my life. And I have been through a lot. And let's go back to the love. When I actually have met my soulmate, it was beautiful. You know, we had this connection, and at that time he actually had lost his first wife. It was not even 2 months that she had passed away. And he had 2 boys, 1.5 and 3.5. When I met them, I realized that all they wanted, all they needed was something that I have so much to give. And by that time, I was single for 5 years because I haven't found anyone that actually deserved my love, that deserved my presence. After he came to Brazil to actually meet me, we had a wonderful time. I would say that actually was the best honeymoon and probably the only one that realistic we had. And a month later, I moved to the UK. This has been now 15 years ago. And as a couple, we had a relationship that had lots of ups and downs, like many of you have in your relationships. But we start developing and growing together. We start understanding about why life have put us together. And I want to talk about past lives here. And I know many of you may not have the experience, but interesting is we had this experience. In 2013, when I started learning Reiki, and I have 5 masters in Reiki, I realized that when I start to work with my clients, I would have access to their past life if it was relevant to their current life. And I thought, wow, this is an amazing gift. But then I start digging into my own past lives too, so my husband, and what beautiful is, we understood that this has been our 3rd life together. And why we came in together? For we be able to truly learn how we could fall in love and accept each other without trying to change. And that was a huge, huge, huge lesson. We have been through a lot. We had so many toxic people within our lives. And we had lots of challenges. We have been through journeys that we have lost everything. And we managed to rebuild all again. And if you ask me what has been the biggest takeaway from that marriage life and the amazing time that we had together, I would say it is that in life we have choices. I have chosen that man to be part of my life. He have chosen me to be part of his life. Together, we came in from a place of invisibility to be visible. And funny enough, when we got married, it was like a wonderful, unforgettable evening. I had 2 wedding dresses because I was thinking I will never ever get married again. So both was like Disney, you know, style, you can imagine. And life have bring us many amazing experiences. We had the opportunity to live abroad, to live by the sea, to travel to so many interesting places. But the most important thing was always remember where we came from, what has bring us together, what sort of lessons we still had to go through to be able to come to that place that we would be strong and visible together, until one day, suddenly and unexpected, his heart stopped to beat, and I wanted to hide again. And I went to that place of sorrow and sadness where nothing had any meaning for me. And if you ask me, what was you scared of? What was the fear that was going on, within that mind? And it was that fear of never find that love again. It was that fear of not being able to cope with whatever would be the life without him, not be able to cope with what would be this new version of me without him. And what was also terrifying for me was had to deal with toxic people in my life. And as you know, with grief, we have people that step forward for you, but you also have those ones that sometimes are there wanting to, let's say, make you bring up the worst version of yourself. And yes, I wanted to give up. I felt really powerless. I felt hopeless. And these are all fears and feelings of everybody that wants to be invisible. I took 2 months to properly speak with my family and say what was going on, how I was really feeling, and say, don't worry, I got this. Even though I needed help. And I had people all over the world stepping forward for me. The love that I have felt from everyone, it was beautiful, it was intense, it was amazing. And I had to find that strength for our kids, because he trusted me the mission to be the mother that would be raising his kids. Not once, but twice. And yes, I found the strength. They also have had to find the strength to grow with the situation. And love kept us strong. Love kept us united. And love have allowed us to be visible again to the world. Love has allowed now, my kids are going to be 17 and 19 very soon, and they're starting now their adult life. And as a mother, I know there was time that I also felt that I had to be the father and I had to be everything that they needed. And that's where I found the strength to become visible again for them. And that's where I have found the strength to be able to remember my core identity, my new core identity, that have allowed me to start a journey that I was getting used to the idea to become visible. Because I embarked on a journey of study to be a medical intuitive, and it was 6 intense months that I have been through my whole life of drama, trauma, whatever you would like to call. I had to revisit everything. And funny enough, coming from a background of personal development, we all listen that we can rewrite our stories, that we can change our beliefs, we can change our perceptions, we can use affirmations, law of attraction. But let's be honest, none of that's going to work if you don't decide to do your inner work. And I had this conversation. I had this conversation with trauma one day. And I can say now smiling because I think it's quite funny. One day, I have sit down and I have recorded myself. For 40 minutes, I was talking and I was sharing all of my concerns, all of my uncertainty, my fears, my frustration, my anger to the trauma and blaming the trauma. And when I have rewatched that conversation, I realized that that woman, she needed so much love. She needed so much compassion. And now I ask you to reflect about your own lives. How many times you had the courage to look within yourself, to look to that part of you that needed you the most, that needed you to show love, respect, compassion, forgiveness, and find that peace within yourself that would allow you to become visible to yourself first of all. And then from that step, you would be able to find the peace to share that knowledge, to share that love, to share your own light with the rest of the world. And when I decided to do that, my life has totally transformed. I am now a bestseller author. I have my own book coming up. I have my third book coming up. And by April next year, I will be involved in 6 book projects. And I think this is amazing. So I'm start getting that position, the visibility. I have loads of testimonies of clients that have worked with me. And the most important energy that I had to have in exchange was the energy of love, of the integrity, while I was working on myself, while I was remembering who I am and finding that strength to be able to embrace life on my terms. And how many of you, many times, haven't found this courage? How many people think that it's easier to just give up? It's easier to just blame the society, the government, their parents. And that's not the solution. Think about what's your contribution in everything that you have been through. Think about what life is actually trying to show you. Allow yourself to just surrender. Once I have allowed myself to literally don't care about what's going to happen in the future and live today, live in the now, life started to be so much easier for me. Everything started to unfold. And the other thing that I have learned with the invisibility is I didn't want to set up goals. I don't work with anyone to help them to set up goals. I help them to have things that they're looking forward to do. Because in doing that, you still can be a high achiever, but then you're removing any other overwhelming pressure, additional one that you could be putting on yourself. And you have so many more reasons to look to life and smile and knowing that, you know what, today I am deciding to become visible. I am deciding to become unforgettable because I am on my own power. And if every single one of you here today or watching me remember these words and remember that life is about choices, and it's okay to choose to have your moments of introspection, but it's also okay to be able to share your stories and to be able to be yourself. Living life in an unforgettable way for you and for others that are around you. Because you always will be a role model for someone. You always will be inspire someone. And that's my message that I would love to leave with you today. My name is Marcela Onyx, and it has been a pleasure to share this stage with you. Thank you.